Am I the jerk for telling my friend to hit the gym after they insulted my boyfriend's weight? My boyfriend, Paul, made the decision last year to recover from an eating disorder. He used to be extremely lean and shredded. While he is still fit and athletic, he has gained 25 pounds over the past year. He puts on a confident facade most of the time, but he has opened up to me that he feels bad about his body and his weight. He used to get a lot of compliments on his physique and does not get as many anymore. I personally think he looks better now. I am trying my best to make him feel better about himself, and he is also attending therapy every 2 weeks. Yesterday, we went to the beach with friends we have not seen in a couple of years. Paul is not super comfortable showing his stomach in public, but I told him he did not have to, and assured him that nobody is judging him the way he judges himself. Most of us just see a tall, handsome, fit guy. When we got to the beach, Paul started to feel more comfortable and eventually took his shirt off to play volleyball. I was so proud of him. Some friends brought a cooler of snacks, and as Paul reached for a cookie, eating in front of people is also a win for him. Our friend Julia said, "Careful, don't want to get too thick." Another friend told her to cut it out, but it definitely killed the mood. Paul put the cookie back, and a couple of minutes later he said he was cold. It was like 95 F, and put his sweatshirt on. Things were fine for the next 30 minutes, but then Julia pointed out a very ripped man walking past us and remarked loudly, "That used to be you, Paul." Cut it out clearly was not enough. What is ironic is that Julia herself is legitimately overweight and has been since we have known her. She does not even work out and eat healthy like Paul, and she does not care to, which is fine. But then do not go shaming someone else for not being bone shredded. Before I could think too much about it, I said, maybe you should do a few laps at the gym yourself before you criticize someone who looks 10 times better than you. After that, some people were like, "Oh, ooh, sick burn," but others were like, "That was way too much." The gathering pretty much ended at that point, and while we drove home, Paul said I had gone too far. He said I did not need to stoop to Julia's level and insult her body, and that I implied that it would be okay for Julia to insult him if she was thinner. He also said it was clear Julia had body issues and was projecting onto him. I did not pick up on that vibe at all, so I do not know. I agree with him that my delivery could have been better, but I still feel like if I had not said anything, Julia would have continued to insult Paul all afternoon. I was really excited that Paul had reached certain eating disorder recovery milestones, going shirtless in public and eating unhealthy foods in front of people. And seeing how mean comments could change his behavior so quickly made me really worried. Was I justified in saying what I said, or was I an asshole? Julia is a friend to nobody, and it's clear your friends didn't call her out either time, but they called you out. Think about that. It's good you put her in her place, but making comments about weight can upset others like Paul. Next time, just tell Julia that she isn't mature enough to be around adults if she can't stop making fun of people. Am I the jerk for kicking my in-laws out of my house after they disrespected my late father's memory? I, a 25-year-old woman, lost my father a year ago. He was the kindest person in the world and worked as an EMT. He died after being hit by a drunk driver while trying to help another driver with car trouble. He was my hero and a huge part of my life. He became a widower father to me when I was 7, and he was the best dad anybody could ever ask for. To honor his memory, I keep a small shrine in our living room with his photo, some of his belongings, a few of his favorite things, and his urn. It brings me comfort and helps me feel like he's still with me. My husband, a 30-year-old man, has always been supportive of this, but his parents, both in their 60s, have never understood. They think it's morbid and unhealthy to keep such a display. They have made their opinions known multiple times, but I've always brushed it off. Explaining it helps me cope. This past weekend, my in-laws came to visit. From the moment they arrived, they were making snide comments about the shrine. My mother-in-law said, "It's time to let go of the past," and my father-in-law chimed in with, "It's not good for your mental health to live in a museum of grief." I told them, firmly but politely, that the shrine stays and it's not up for discussion. Things escalated quickly. When I left the room to take a phone call, they decided to take matters into their own hands. I walked back in to find them packing away my father's things into a box. I was livid. I told them to stop immediately and put everything back. They refused, saying they were helping me move on. I lost it. I yelled at them to get out of my house. My mother-in-law started crying, saying I was ungrateful and that they were just trying to help. My father-in-law called me hysterical and said I was disrespecting them. My husband tried to mediate, but I was too furious to listen. I told them they had no right to touch my father's things, and that they were not welcome in my home if they couldn't respect my boundaries. I discovered as I was putting things back that some of my belongings I had placed on the shrine were gone. A small stuffed cat, his mat for Magic the Gathering, and his shot glass from screeching in when he went to Newfoundland with my mom before she died of cancer. All three things have very low value monetarily, but a lot of sentimental value. My husband has told me I am overreacting over a molehill, and that I'm just sensitive because I was a daddy's girl when my dad was alive. I'm having a hard time letting go of my dad because we were so close. He was literally my best friend for the last 5 years of his life. I may be so swamped in my own grief that I was an asshole over nothing. I'm confused and sad. Am I the asshole? You are not in the wrong here. Your in-laws were incredibly disrespectful and entitled to think they had any place in telling you how to grieve, and your husband needs to stand with you in this and show a united front. Moving someone else's things in their own home without permission is not okay, and the combination of these actions would get a reasonable person's blood boiling. Your husband has no business telling you you're overreacting. He should have been shutting them down every time they told you to get over it. Am I the jerk when I told my sister that I wouldn't watch her kid after she had a go at me all weekend? Am I the asshole? I am an 18-year-old male who left my job in May of 2024 due to family reasons. I am number 10 out of 11 of my mother's and stepfather's children, making me the second youngest. My mother has 8 children. 4 of them, the oldest kids, have the same father. One has his own father, and my 2 sisters and I share the same father. I am the middle of us 3 and the only boy. My 22-year-old sister had a baby last year, a 1-year-old male. The baby's father is not great at all, refusing to watch him, etc. Since I left my job, a few of my older siblings have used this to their advantage, getting me to babysit and do small tasks. When my sister went back to work, she needed a babysitter. My older sister, who is pregnant, was doing it. Now that my sister is too far along, 8 months pregnant, she can't do it anymore. I agreed to watch my nephew 3 times a week for 7 hours at a time. I originally didn't have an issue with this as I was at home a lot. Just this Friday, I was asked to do something for my brother at his apartment. My sister would stay there until I got there. I don't go out with my friends or boyfriend a lot, so on Friday, I was out with my boyfriend. My sister called and started shouting at me. I said I'd be there in an hour. As I was on my way there, she called me again, shouting at me. When I got there, she was nowhere to be seen. I went into his apartment and sat on the sofa while the electrician was doing the electrics. After 10 minutes, he was done and I left. On Saturday, my sister ignored me and didn't speak to me. On Sunday, she called my phone again to shout at me. I said, "I'm done. Find someone else to babysit," and hung up on her. She called me selfish and a horrible uncle. I love my nieces and nephews dearly, so this hurt me. Monday came around and I hadn't heard from her. She called me at 11:00 a.m. and I ignored it. She texted me, "Are you having him or not?" to which I ignored. She called our mother and started talking crap about me. I just ignored it. I'm not confrontational at all. I don't like drama or anything. I asked my other siblings what to do and they said I should apologize. They made it clear they're on her side. My oldest brother is in agreement with me and said it's not my fault and I shouldn't have to apologize. Now I'm putting this up because I'm stuck. Am I the asshole or not? You are not in the wrong here. If someone decides to have kids, they should be prepared to handle the responsibilities that come with them. It's completely fair to ask for compensation when taking on such a huge task, especially when covering all expenses. You should be getting something out of the transaction, whether it's money, recognition, or appreciation. Don't let family guilt trip you into doing something that adds stress to your life without any benefit to you. Am I the jerk for giving away my sibling's room to an international student in return for free babysitting? My sister Lainey lived with my family for her first year of university. We did not charge her anything. In return, she was supposed to help around the house and babysit for us when we needed. It was a maximum of 2 weeknights and 1 day or night on the weekend. It worked great until it didn't. After her first semester, she decided it was unfair and started refusing to do it. Our kids are not in diapers and are pretty self-sufficient. We just needed an adult there to make sure they were okay. We talked to my mother and father about it, and they said that she deserved a social life. We made arrangements to get one of my wife's cousins to come stay with us. My sister moved out to go home for the summer. My wife's family friend moved in. We made sure we told my parents about it so they could arrange for my sister to stay in dorms or rent an apartment with friends. They understood. My sister has gone nuts, however. She is upset that I gave away her room that she did not pay for, and that came with free food, internet, utilities, and access to a car if she needed. She thinks we are being vindictive. I think we had a deal, and she and our parents tried to change it. Maria, the girl staying with us, has been great. She tutors the kids and we have to tell her to stop cleaning because we have a cleaning lady. Maria is getting 4 nights a week to herself and 1 weekend day. The exact same as my sister. We are helping her get a license so she can drive the kids if she needs. We will give her access to a car as well if we are not using them. My sister is upset because she was going to use the money from her summer job as fund money for the year, and now she will have to use it for housing, transportation, and food. She will also need a job during the school year, so her social life will be impacted. I tried talking to her about it, but she said I was being unfair and cheap. If we pretend we were paying her $25 an hour, that would be 16 hours times $25 times 4 weeks, $1,600 a month. Rent, all utilities, food, and access to a car for $1,600 is pretty good in our city. Dorms plus a meal plan will be more this fall. Your sister had a sweetheart deal, but she decided she didn't want to follow it and wanted everything for free. It's not fair to try to change the agreement after the fact. Everyone complaining is someone who doesn't have to provide for your sister. I think you are not in the wrong here. Would I be the asshole if I told my dad to stop bringing my niece and nephew to my family's Friday night out? Every Friday night, my husband and I, both 34 years old, and our children, who are 4 and 6 years old, go to an outdoor brewery as our family tradition. We have been doing this for about a year and a half now and are considered regulars. We also bring our new puppy with us. My children have a solid group of friends that they run around and play with, and it is beneficial for my husband and me because it is the closest thing we can get to a date night. His parents, who are both in their 60s, live over 3 hours away. My parents, who are both in their 50s, are an hour away, but hate to leave their house and do not like dogs, so they do not babysit for us either. It has been almost 5 years since we have had a night out together. On Friday nights, my parents have my niece and nephew over to their house for a sleepover. They are 5 and 7 years old. My sister and her children live about 10 minutes from my parents, so they spend a lot of time together. However, my parents rarely call, visit, or even inquire about our children. My oldest has started to ask a lot of questions about the difference in relationships. Recently, my father has been bringing my niece and nephew to the brewery on Friday nights because it is easier for him than having to entertain them at his house. At first, I was upset by this because he has never met us there to spend time with us or our children. I felt like he was just passing the babysitting off to my husband and me on our date night. But I said sure, why not, since it is a public place and not right to tell someone else not to go there. Having them there ended up putting a huge damper on our night. My father is not very social and was kind of standoffish to our normal group of regulars we tend to socialize with. He also does not like dogs and kept making comments about the dogs being there. Additionally, having my niece and nephew there caused a lot of drama in the children's friend circle. My niece is very bossy, and instead of the children being in one nice group like they usually are, everyone was split up and divided. My children both had moments of crying due to what my niece was doing, and I spent most of my time having to referee the group like I was worried about. Last week they did not come, and it was so much better. However, my father just texted me that they will be coming again this week, and now I am dreading it. Would I be the antagonist if I told my father this is interfering with my family's tradition and our attempt at a date night, and we would rather they did not come? Nothing you've done here makes me think you are the jerk. If he's choosing to babysit every Friday so your sister can have a date night, it's not fair for him to pass it off to you by coming to the brewery. He should talk to your sister if he needs a break. Don't expect him to listen to you, though. It's easier for him to keep doing this. Am I the jerk for not babysitting my ex's children? I share a 12-year-old son with my ex. We broke up amicably when he was 3 months old. We got along fine just after. We were both young and never really worked together, and I have zero animosity toward her for the end of our relationship. We co-parented our son well over most of the last 12 years, but for 3 to 4 years now, we've had some issues. Following our breakup, my ex has had 5 other children by 5 different men. To the best of my knowledge, not one of the men is involved in the life of their child. My ex is raising her other 5 children alone without help. As of 2 years ago, she lives in a different city, and I have custody of our son, with her getting monthly visitation and more time in the summer. I used to see my ex's children occasionally, and I tried to be kind to them. But the more children she had, the more she would ask for me to help with them. I put a boundary down because I did not want to encourage her to keep having more children and to rely on me for financial or childcare assistance. It started with her wanting money for her children's birthdays or a medical appointment and turned into requests for me to take children overnight or to babysit for her. She was made homeless 2 years ago after her former landlord sold the house she was renting, and the new owner did not intend to continue renting it out. She left it too late to make other plans, and when she was made homeless, I was awarded temporary custody of our son, which turned to full custody once she moved to a different city. Now my ex is asking me to babysit her children during the day now that school is out, and I told her no. My reasons are as follows. It is a 3-hour drive from her to me, and I do not believe she is going to make that drive to and from here every day to pick up the children, which means I would end up with her children overnight. She also expects this for free, which is another reason. Finally, she is pregnant again, so doing this now only adds to the concern about her leaning on me to be a father to the children she had with other men. When I said no, we had a fight over this, and she told me to think of it as showing my son how to be a kind and caring person, and giving her children the chance to see him more than they do. She told me I need to man up and help her as the father of her first child. She laid a huge guilt trip on me, which I think has made me question my decision now. Am I the asshole? You are not in the wrong here. Your primary responsibility is to your son, and you've been doing that well. Your ex's choices have created a challenging situation, but it's not your job to fix it. Setting boundaries is important to protect your own well-being and your ability to care for your son. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.